on the computer, and we are recording. Welcome, everyone. I have Chris Corrigan here, a master in participatory dialogue processes. And Chris, you're going to be in Calgary March 27th and 29th with myself, Matt Mayer, and Brenna Aknoff, doing a training called The Art of Hosting. And specifically, it's called The Simple Art of Hosting. I guess in my mind, and I'm sure others have this question, is what is the art of hosting?
That's a very good question. So the art of hosting is an approach to dialogue, to participation, and to leadership that's been around really for the last 15 years or so. So it began as a bunch of practitioners that do large group participatory facilitation. So open space technology, World Cafe, circle practice, that kind of stuff. Who began asking the question about, like, what's the essence of what we're really trying to do here when we're facilitating? We're trying to teach how to facilitate these methods. What are we actually trying to do? And discovered that the facilitation, the process of becoming a facilitator and of facilitating these things actually has a correlation to leadership in organizations, in community settings. So it kind of scales. So learning how to run these kinds of processes also have a lot of implications for learning how to run organizations and working with teams, working in communities. So what we started looking at was, instead of the skills around just delivering these particular methods, we began looking at, what's this leadership approach all about? What's a leadership approach that enables us as leaders to create spaces in which people can do their work, in which the results are emergent, so we don't know what they're going to be about, and in which people self-organize to get work done. And so the art of hosting kind of works on several levels, in that it's a facilitation approach, but it's also a leadership approach.
So there'll be 20 plus individuals at this training, and what does that look like? Are we sitting at desks and listening to you talk for 3 days, or is that your worst nightmare?
No, yeah, that's my worst nightmare. I mean, it's about participation, right? It's about participatory work. So the way what we do in an art of hosting training and an art of hosting workshop is that we basically focus on three things typically. So the first thing is we look at some theory and some worldview that really helps us to understand the nature of problems that are best addressed by having lots of people participate, right? So these are complex problems. These are things in which a diversity of perspectives is really key, in which many different hands can help us do better work, where we need to innovate, we need to do things that we've never done before. And so you need to work in large groups and large diverse groups in order to do that kind of work well. So the theory that underlies that is fairly well established in the organizational world. And so one component of art of hosting is actually thinking about and learning about that theory. And we do that with a series of interactive exercises and some teaching. The second piece that we do is we work with self-organizing dialogic methods. So I mentioned a few: World Cafe, open space technology, Pro Action Cafe, Circle. And the way we run these typically in an art of hosting workshop is we have participants themselves step up and host those processes with the coaching of the core teams. So those of us that are on the team are experienced practitioners. And what we're really trying to do is give the learners an opportunity to get their feet wet in terms of hosting those processes. So we use those processes to host questions that are important to the group as a whole. Usually they're questions around what's changing in the world, what are you learning about being able to show up differently, what kind of, what's the demand look like for different ways of organizing or different ways of addressing strategic challenges. And so using those methods within the training gives us a chance to both engage and participate in dialogue, and also have people host the processes themselves. So it's very hands-on and participatory in that way too. And then the third thing that happens in an art of hosting workshop is that we look at and share design tools that we can use to be able to craft strategy and be able to plan these kinds of participatory strategic initiatives. And in that case, what we ask people to do is bring real life projects into the room. What are the projects you're working on? And we coach each other, and we use the tools that we all use in our professional lives. We use those tools right in the context of the training, both so that people can get a sense of what the tools are, and they leave a little further ahead on their projects than when they came in.
Right on. And I noticed the title of this art of hosting is a simple art of hosting. Does that mean that it's a beginner level? If I'm attending this, bringing my own project into it, should I make sure that it's a moderate project, a simple project, if you will, or what does simple mean?
Well, I think what we're really going for with this particular training is those of us on the core team that are hosting this. I think we're really just interested in the absolute basics. What is the simplest thing I can do as a leader, the simplest thing I can do as a facilitator to be able to create the conditions for groups of people to address complex challenges? So the projects that people bring in, the problems that they bring in, they don't have to be simple at all. But what we really want to do is we want to be able to have people leaving going, oh, I've got a set of simple tools. I've got some simple practices that I can begin to develop in my own leadership. And this will make my process more participatory and bring in more voices, bring in more innovation, bring in more perspectives on our problems than we have before. So we don't want to get like overly complex. I can go down a rabbit hole on complexity science. I can go down a rabbit hole on self-organizing systems. I can go down a rabbit hole on the deep processes of facilitation and leadership. We want to actually have people leave with like something in hand that they can apply to their projects right away. So that's what we're going for.
Right on. So if I was attending this art of hosting, simple art of hosting, on Monday morning, when I go back to work after doing the 3 days of training, I'll be able to host people through some of these tools that you mentioned, like Open Space, World Cafe, Circle.
Yeah, you'll definitely know them, right? You'll definitely know what they are. You'll be familiar with them. I mean, we have to emphasize that you can't learn facilitation in a 3-day workshop, right? But what you'll learn is you'll learn the method. You'll see how it works. You'll have participated in one, which is, to me, the best way actually to learn how to do it. There's user guides available for all of these methods. But yeah, you should be able to go back to work and try something that you learned in Art of Hosting to increase the number of people that are participating in the work that you're doing. And we also, I mean, other takeaways are you will almost certainly be looking at your problem differently when you come back, because the frameworks and some of the theory that we share is intended to have you address problems from a more creative space, and a space in which more perspectives will make it better rather than less. So usually people report, oh my God, like when I started thinking about my project as complex rather than as easily controllable or easily manageable, it really changed the way we went about doing work. And the participatory tools then helped us to make sense of where we were going to go. And the design tools that we share as well are deeply practical. And then I think the third thing that people often leave with from an Art of Hosting is just better ideas about their projects, because this is a place of like immense practicality. The reason we teach these tools and methods is because they work, not because we love them. We also happen to love them, but they advance projects. They get work done in a better way, and we want people to leave having had that experience of their projects being helped by the folks that are in the room, and having maybe a different path forward for what they're going to take back into their organizations or communities.
Right on. So it's March 27th, 29th in Calgary at the Fort Calgary Theater. Or venue, I guess I should say. You can find some more information in the link at the bottom here. And Chris, any last words?
We would love people to come as teams. We'd love it if you brought like 2 or 3 people you're working with, either in your organization or folks that you work with in the world, because what we've discovered is with participatory processes, participatory learning really, really helps to ground the learning, and also helps to have that effect spread out over time and space. So I love working in Calgary. I think what I love about Calgary is it's a deeply practical city. The people there are deeply practical, but they're not afraid of dreaming, and the entrepreneurship energy is so strong there. It's like supporting the work that people are trying to do is really exciting to me. So there's a lot of talent in Calgary, and so that's kind of inspiring us to have a simple Art of Hosting, right? To just give you the simplest possible tools that as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs working within organizations or trying to make change in the world, we can give you stuff that's going to support already the energy and the direction that's there.
Right on. Well, thanks so much, Chris. We look forward to having you teach this and bring your teams to Art of Hosting, Simple Art of Hosting in Calgary, March 27th and 29th.
See you in March.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.